This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
You know, when someone does something horrible, it's easy for us to often judge where they came from. That must be the answer to what grew such a twisted, dark seed. It's not always the case, though. The allegations against Bryan Kohberger are very strong and very serious, obviously. Quadruple homicide. Where did he come from? What kind of upbringing did he have? And how much did that play a role in the allegations that now sit against him? We'll take a look at that. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, born November 21st, 1994. Pennsylvania, is the youngest child and only son. Michael and Maryann Kohberger. Bryan was raised in a loving, nurturing household, according to all accounts, surrounded by the beauty of the Poconos and his two older sisters, Amanda and Melissa. His parents, Michael Kohberger Jr. and Maryann Kohberger, both well-respected members of their community, were known for their compassion and kindness. Michael worked as a maintenance worker for the Pleasant Valley School District for over a decade, while Maryann devoted her life to helping special needs students as a paraprofessional. Some describing her as an angel, always there to help them along. Growing up, Bryan was quiet, reserved young man who attended Pleasant Valley High School before pursuing an associate degree in psychology at Northampton Community College. And despite his reserved demeanor, Bryan was an exceptional student that was described by one of his professors at DeSales University as one of the best students ever, with what they said had a brilliant mind. As his higher education journey continued, Bryan received his associate's degree in psychology and then attended DeSales University before eventually making his way across the country to Washington State University. That's where he pursued his PhD in criminal justice. However, despite his academic success, Bryan struggled to form meaningful connections with his peers. Those who knew him at school remember him as being quiet, reserved, keeping to himself. One former classmate spoke out on how they never really knew Bryan, as they only had a few brief interactions. It wasn't until the fall of 2022 that Bryan's name would become known to the world, when he came embroiled in that violent altercation with a professor and eventually fired from his position as a teaching assistant at Washington State University. Just a few short weeks later, Bryan found himself at the center of that horrific crime scene, accused of killing 4 young students from nearby University of Idaho in their off-campus rental home. For Bryan's parents, the reality of having a child who is suspected of being a killer of 4 young people must be devastating. Maryann, who worked as that paraprofessional assisting special needs students, was known for her kindness. She must be struggling to understand how her son could be capable of such a horrific act. Michael, who devoted over a decade of his life to serving the community, must be grappling with the same questions. It's a tragedy on many levels, not just for the families of the victims, but also for Bryan's own family. It's a heart-wrenching scenario for any parent to imagine and to come to terms with. As more information and his life becomes known, it's clear that there was much more to him than what was visible on the surface. But for now, the world waits answers as the investigation continues into this tragedy. The name Bryan Kohberger may not mean much to many, but the small town of Effort, Pennsylvania, and the tight-knit community of Indian Mountain Lake and Albrightsville, it's a name that will never be forgotten. How is it, though, that a child can be raised by good parents and turn out to have committed such illegal, heinous acts? It's a complex and often difficult to understand phenomenon, but it's possible for a child to be raised by loving and nurturing parents and still turn out to engage in harmful or criminal behavior. A number of factors that can contribute to this outcome, including genetic predisposition, early childhood experiences, exposures to negative influences, a range of psychological and emotional issues, and in some cases, a child may be born with a genetic predisposition to certain behavioral or mental health issues that increase the likelihood of them engaging in harmful or criminal behavior. Exposure to negative influences such as peers who engage in criminal behavior or lack of positive role models can also contribute to a child's likelihood of engaging in this behavior. It's important to note that not always is it the case that a child raised in a loving, nurturing home do not engage in criminal behavior. However, it's a reminder that parenting, while important, is not the only factor in determining a child's future. It's also a reminder of the importance of addressing and treating mental health and behavioral issues in children, as well as adolescents, when the warning signs are present before it's too late.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
with Tony Bruschi.
We would love to hear your thoughts on that. Phone number is 888-5-KILLER, 888-554-5537 to weigh in with your feedback. We may even use it on the air. You can call 24/7 and give that to us. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. You don't miss any of our breaking updates, discussions on the cases that we are following for you here at the Hidden Killers Podcast. My name is Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.